So what we'll understand why we require today we'll understand why we require data visualization, how to make sense out of number, how to see number on visualization or visually, uses of Tableau, for what all Tableau is used, and features of Tableau. This I'll give a demonstration on Tableau itself. And guys, if I forget something or I miss on something which I'll tell that I'll cover today, you can just remind me that you told this but you have not covered. So I'll surely cover that also. But I'll not forget. However, sometimes, you know, while rushing things, we tend to miss. Okay. So installation. Tableau, I told you, it's a trial version, so please try to install tomorrow. And if you get a hand on of a student ID card, better to get a 1-year license. It will be easier for you. Node Excel is an Excel add-in, which I'll tell you again when we do Node Excel. It's a 5 minutes work to install Node Excel, and it's very powerful. So you can use Mac or you can use anything, Windows, for this to both Tableau and Node Excel are compatible. So it talks about, you know, how do we talk about graphics? How do we induce logics in graphics? How do we induce stories in graphics? How do we avoid distortion? So for example, if you have a data which shows marks of all the students which ranges between 0 to 100, but there are some typing error and there are some marks which are fed 500 or 1000. So Tableau would help you to find those marks, and you can just click on that person, exclude, and it goes out of the data set. Whatever you do in Tableau, the master database does not get affected. It's only happened on Tableau environment. So if you delete something or add something, your original database stays as it is. Right? Okay. You can make comparisons. So if you have a lot of data, you can make graphical comparison. I can compare, I can put a bar chart and put a line chart on top of it, and also put one more chart on top of it, multiple dimension, and try to do a lot of things, right? And I can see data at different level. I can have annual data. When you click on a year, it breaks down into quarter data. When you click on a quarter, it breaks down into monthly data. You click on month, it will break down on weeks. You click on weeks, it will break down on day. And if you click on day, it will go to hourly level, if available. Right? Similarly, continent, country, city, state and city, so on and so forth. And you can make your own hierarchy. So if you have product category, another sub-product category, item category, and so on and so forth. So you can drill down as much as you want, depend upon the way you design your data. Okay. So what is the first principle of visualization? I'll go a bit fast on this because a few things you know. And whenever you get stuck, you just prompt me, I'll repeat that part. So first principle, we do not perceive absolutes. Instead, we perceive differences in contrast. So if I tell you, Ajay earns $10,000 per year. So how does it make sense? It does not make sense. But I say Ajay earns $10,000 per year, but his wife earns, say, $80,000 per year. So you know that Ajay is earning peanut. So when I give you contrast and differences, you understand. So whenever you make a visualization, please make sure it's comparative. It shows contrast. It shows differences. It allows a person to compare between two sets of data. It cannot be standalone. Number one. Our eyes are drawn to familiar patterns. Please do not always, when you use colors or charts, use which are familiar to things. Do not use something which people have never seen, or colors which smudges into each other. So more familiar pattern is, more familiar a diagram is, more familiar a headline is, people tends to remember that for more. Memory plays a role in cognition, but our working memory is limited. So do not clutter your dashboard or chart with lot of things. Because your working memory is limited, you can only see one part of the entire dashboard at a given point of time. So instead of putting 10 charts, put 4 charts, make another dashboard with another 4 charts, make a third dashboard with 2 charts, make one more dashboard where you have summary of all these charts, rather than putting all these 10 charts together. So how can visualization assist you? It gives higher information, more dimension of information, and multiple perspective. So when you draw a chart in Excel, you just have X and Y axis. Here you can have X and Y axis, of course. You can color according to one more axis. So if you have, say, X is number days every day and Y is sales. So more the sales, the bar graph would be lengthier. The color would tell me the, say yesterday's sales or average sales in that particular area. The size of the bar, thickness of the bar may tell me the quantity sold to get that sale, and so on and so forth. So I can put 4 to 5 dimensions in one single thing, and I can have multiple perspective. So here is one example. So how I'm using my visuals. So if you see this, I'm using multiple line charts together for different region, all the 4 regions of a city or a country across time to understand and compare. So if there was only one single chart, one single line, it would have made less sense. Here it makes more sense. Number one, it tells me, so for example, for South, how does my trend goes in? So it was decreasing, then suddenly started increasing, and then gradually increased and then slowed down. It reduced. Now, this is similar to West. However, if you see other 2 places, Center and East, East is showing an increasing trend. So you can compare this part, you can compare this part, and you can compare across time. I can compare across time. I can compare across region. So that is how multivariation would come in. So again, so this was, so I'll go back. This was separated, north, east, west, south, right? Now what I did, I combined them into single platform. Now you can closely understand that this date or this month, almost all sales dipped. However, there's one which is red, which is west, where the sales was increasing. Similarly, when again here, when every city was experiencing less amount of sales, this blue one, that is central region, was experiencing higher sales. So again, this gives you a better way of encoding data or information. So now if you take this set, we understand what is this. This is for June and this is your data set. So what I'm trying to say, you can click on this and see the data also. Or you can have both. You can have a small table and then have a chart below this table. So this one data set or this whole row is being represented by this. So if you now understand, if you see this number, forget the chart, just see the number. It will be very tough for you to even understand, is there a decreasing trend or increasing trend, how are region compared to each other performing, and so on and so forth. But when you see the chart, it will be much more easier for you, right? I go further, I break it down into, say, different category, espresso, coffee, herbal tea, and tea, and see the sales, monthly sales across region and across product, across days. You also see budgeted versus actual, what was my budget and what was my actual sales. The product sold across all region combined together, right? So these are all my products. These are sales compared to marketing effort. How much did you spend on marketing and how was the sale? So does increase in marketing expenditure increase sales or not? The colors represent the product. So if you see this blue color would be Colombian coffee, green would be lemon tea or lemon coffee, whatever. Orange would be cafe latte, brown would be early grey or Darjeeling, and so on and so forth. This again talks about state-wise sales. So this talks about in California, we have maximum sales. However, inside California, the biggest contributor was Colombian coffee. Now coming down, so New York, the highest contributor was again the same coffee. and you can check, you can see different type of detailing here. We'll try to make the exact same chart in our next class also. Now, Tufte is a name of a person. He was a data visualizer, and he laid down few principles of data visualization. Right. So he laid down few principles of data visualization. Okay. So this is all for people who wants to get into analytics. Comparison, show, compare, contrast differences. Causality, show the cause, what caused that bar chart to increase, inflate. So when we make multiple things, you'll understand. So if there's a increase in sales, we'll show what caused that increase in sales. Okay, this product sold higher. Now what caused this product to sell higher? Okay, the marketing initiative or the marketing spend was higher. Multivariate analysis will show 2-3 things together rather than one thing. Integration of evidence will try to integrate everything. What we say through numbers, through word, through highlighting things, will try to integrate. Documentation, write the sub-headline, remarks properly, right? And the content. It should be, about that chart, not around that chart. That is, it should be relevant to the chart you are talking about. Now, what is multivariate analysis? Showing one or two variables together is called multivariate analysis. Basically, more than one or two variables together is called multivariate analysis. What is causality? That is, it should show what caused what. Okay. What do you mean by integration of evidence? That is, when you make a chart, make sure the image, number, words are included in that chart to describe that chart further. Whenever you use an image or table, please annotate. I guess you know about annotation. Annotation is basically like a bubble you make and write, okay, this here it was an election day, or it was on holiday, or there was a heavy snowfall, there was a blackout in the entire state, and that is why sales went down. So, you annotate. You describe that area, right? Next. So, never assume that someone knows something. Just write it on your chart if you think that people would know that, okay, this is month, this is quarter, this is current year only. But please mention the year and all. Do not assume. And also do not assume that you know everybody. So also please put details for people. So when we do integrating the dashboard, we'll try to see how to make a dashboard meant for a manager, how to make a dashboard meant for an executive, and how to make the dashboard for a CEO or the same data set. Okay. So these are we'll cover right now, which technology to use, which font to use, how large should be the font, and which other colors you should use. Again, similar thing. What are the content reasoning tasks that this display is supposed to help with, right? How to make decision out of a chart, how to influence a decision out of a chart, and so on and so forth. We'll not try to tell a lie, but we'll try to tell a story. So this is the building block of data visualization. So this is self-understandable, but I'm trying to cover all this because sometimes when you go to interviews, they ask all these basic questions. Visual perception plus fit for a purpose of visualization. That does this chart is fit for visualization or not, and how does you perceive a chart when you look at it. Plus numbers inside it, quantitative reasoning would give you insight. So what do you mean by fit for purpose? Numbers 1, the type of data you should have. You should be able to compare, give a presentation which is comparative, and also it should have multivariate. The things which I told you, these are all getting connected to each other. So when you are presenting only couple of numbers, just use words. So for example, Q2 sales were so much dollars, which was 15% higher than forecast. So this is one sentence, write that sentence. However, if you have to show Q2 versus Q3 versus Q4 versus across the time versus multiple products, use a chart. Now, what is chart junk? Anybody? What is chart junk? Give it a try. What do you mean by chart junk? Rajiv says cluttering charts. Yes. Anybody else? Right, Rajiv? Anybody else? Anybody else? So it's only Rajiv, Anurag, Karthik, Raghavendra, Giri. So there are a lot of people attending the class. Mohan, which are not useful to display in the chart, right? Chart junk. Yes. Anurag says wasted of space in charts by space meant not relevant visuals, right? Showing one chart in two different ways, again not required, right? Great. So basics of data in our visualization, the message would be represented by two types of data, quantitative and categorical. So what is quantitative data? Numbers, profit, number of quantities sold, orders, etc. Categorical data, type of products, which are categorical data, which is text based, which does not require computations. City is categorical data. Name of the salesperson, categorical data. Regions, categorical data. Sorry. So this one. So categorical or quantitative? Anybody? What is this chart all about? It is showing you category or quantity? The chart which you see right now. Okay. Okay, so what we'll do is, before I answer this, let's look at this. Sorry. So, yeah, look at this. So what we are seeing as, there is a direct channel, there is an indirect channel. Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 gives me the output. So this is more of a quantitative chart. How much it talks about. From where, but how much. So these are more of a quantitative chart, right? When should you use table? Table when you have less data. Just use table. When you have numbers which are comparable to each other, use tables. So the same thing. Choose a table when the display will be used as lookup for a particular value. When you click on that number, it will show a chart, or when you show a chart, it will reflect that number. So it will be to compare two values rather than two group or two series. So example, sales in Q1 versus sales in Q2, that's it, nothing else. When precision is required, when your boss wants to know exact amount, $2,243, that is when you use data, but is use chart or numbers. So when you give, when more than one unit of measures is involved, again you use table. When you have to give summary and detailed value of both, then you use tables. So I told you there are two ways, quantitative to categorical and quantitative to quantitative. So numbers to numbers and numbers to a category. So which we saw here was a number to category. That is quantitative to qualitative. So let's see, what is this? So we talk about, we have this salesperson's name and year till date sales, how much they sold till today, starting from the 1st of this year, right? So you see a qualitative chart, a quantitative chart compared to a qualitative number, right? Here you can use a table. Now, so if you see what is this? Again same thing, but broken down into months. So qualitative to quantitative to quantitative. Here what do you see? You see hierarchy, right? So you have lot of qualitative chart and lot of quantitative. So it's qualitative, qualitative, qualitative and quantitative. More qualitative and less quantitative. This is also called hierarchical category. So hardware, inside hardware, what is the product category? Inside printer, you can have the product code, and inside the product code, you can have product subcode, and so on and so forth. We saw this, I guess. Yeah. So I'll come here. This is also done. Okay. Any questions still here? This one we did. This one we did. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I guess I missed this. Now, if you see this chart, there's something interesting in this chart. So this is same as this. However, there's something different in this chart. What's the difference in this chart? So if you see, I have highlighted the sales figure of 2% with a different color. If you see, this color is different. Right? So that was the purpose. I wanted to see the least sales in Feb was by Stevie. So that was the least sales in Feb was by Stevie. Right? So that was my purpose of this chart. And similarly, we try to see different things. We see sales, we see sales expenses and net sales. So there is a different thing altogether. So if you see this, say this is sales by, if you add it across, but if you compare to this, the net sales would be different. The net sale would give you different insight compared to sales. So if you see here, in case Deepika had highest sales, right? Also she had highest sales here, but sales expenses was also very high for her. So if you take a percentage, you get a completely different figure, right? So I'm trying to see sales, sales expenses and net sales. The PPT part is over, the theory part is over. Now we'll do some, I'll show you how to use Tableau. And from tomorrow we'll start hands-on, and we'll also do a bit more theory tomorrow. So, but I thought of let's talk something more today, practical, right? So what we'll do today is we'll use a sample data which is called World Bank Indicator, which you get along with Tableau. So when you download Tableau, you get such data. How do you log in? So for example, I'll show you when you open your Tableau system, here you get it. So you see World Bank Indicator is here. I'll just show you. I'll take a pen. Okay. So we'll be using this one, World Bank Indicator, and this one. So Superstore. So we'll be, most of the time we'll use this sample data sources for our ease. So right now we are using World Bank Indicator, and then we'll try to use this. Right now, please do not do what I'm doing. Just look what I'm doing. I'll post this Tableau file for you guys, and then you can replicate at your free time, right? So I'll close this. So you just have to go click here and you'll come to the screen which I have, right? So this is about World Bank indicators. So these are the World Bank indicators. So what I'm looking at, so I have n number of, say, variables out here. So, lot of variables. So these are all taken from World Bank databases. You have country, date, region, sub-region, number of ATMs per 1,000 people, number per 100,000 adults, number of bank per 100,000 adults, and so on and so forth, right? How did I see this? So here comes my data source. This says that, okay, sample workbook indicator has been loaded. You go here and right click, go to view data, you'll be able to see this data. So here it comes this way. let's see what else option you have. You can rename this data source. You can write your name, but I'm not going to do that. You with the moment you press close, the data set would go out. Extract data. The data set would come out in a TDE file, Tableau data export file, and get saved as TDE file, right? And about the others, we'll look into this whenever we talk next. This is my pages. It allows animation. These are filters the way you do it in Excel. Here is my toolkit. Here is my war zone. These are columns where I'll have the variables which I want as columns, the variables which I want as rows. Here, if you click, you can see the types of chart we can make and more, right? So there's a question, can we do joins on common column if we have two Excel sheets? Karthik, you can do a lot of things. We'll talk about joins and when we do advanced visualization, not right now. Right? So this is my file menu. So new file, open, export. What is exports? Packaged workbook. When I send you packaged workbook, I do not have to send a file. So for example, if you are using a local Excel sheet to make a data or your own database, SQL database to make a visualization, when you do export packaged workbook, it would work as it is. You don't have to send the data set. If you do not do it as packaged worksheet, you have to also send the data set. You can print it as PDF, JPEG, whatever you want to do. Right? Then you have data sources. You can connect to data from here. You can directly paste data here. Worksheets, new worksheet. So this is first worksheet we are using. Copy the worksheet as image, data, or crosstab. We'll talk about crosstab in one of our sessions. Clear the sheet, formatting, everything, and we'll talk about all this in a while. Same dashboard would be when we do 4th or 5th session, story again 4th or 5th session, analysis when we do advanced, Tableau system will come to this tab, map we'll do it in tomorrow or day after, formatting we do this again in a 3rd week or so. Server, I will talk about this also, right? And then help them, right? Okay, any doubts before we move forward? Great. So let's see. First, we'll take date and we'll try to make some time series data. Only desktop version is required. So I took date and made a time series data, right? So I'll just minimize the question window for some time because this will help me to concentrate. And here, so I took time series data and let's take some say passenger data. So it shows that how did passenger movement happen across years, all country combined together, right? Now what I try to do, I want to see it region wise. So what I do, I drop region here. So I see multiple C. So I'll do it again. So this is, I took year on my x-axis, air travels, air passengers, number of air passengers on y-axis, right? So this is average number of passengers. I want total number of passengers. So this is total number of passengers. That was average. So I did not wanted average, I wanted total. So I have total. You can even take a count how many, but we don't count, does not make sense. So we'll take total number of air passengers travel. But again, it shows me that, okay, there was an increasing trend from year 2000 to 2010. But I want to see it region wise, you know. This is how I want to see that. Okay, show me region wise. So this was others is all others. So you which region had highest? So it was the Americas, that American travelers, or the Americas, North Americas and South America had the highest traveled, followed by Europe and then Asia, and lowest was Africa. Now I'll try to see sub-region. So I broke it down further. So you have North America, South America, Northern Africa, Southern Africa, Central Africa, and so on and so forth. Right? So that was, but I'll take region only because this is much more understandable. And why line chart? Because it's a time series data. Right? Now when I press plus here, what happens? Sorry, this will not happen this way. So what I'll do is I'll take date and put it here. Is it showing? No, it's not happening. So let's do it manually. Okay, just a second, please. Yeah, so it's showing me annually. Now I'll try to go and see quarterly. I don't. Okay, so there's some problem here. So I'll take a continuous data, sorry, discrete data, and again go to quarter. Okay, so this was the quarter, right? So I see quarter data, Q1, Q2. So for all the dates, I see quarter data. I take this, hit plus, it becomes month-like data. So you have this months here. Again, I press plus, it will become week data. Again, I press plus, it will become daily data, right? So this is how the data set is changing, right? So you can change it to any level. However, I'll keep it annual data so that it's easier for us to understand. So this is annual data. You can boil it down to any level you want. However, monthly can be better. So if I want it much more customize, I can go here, make it custom and say month and year. So that would be much better for me. That's it. So this is my month and year. So July 2000, July 2001. So you have 12 periods here. So it's month and year. So that is month, MY is month here, right? But here it does not make much difference. So I'll keep it annual only. Let's put it here. So this is how my air travels happen, right? Now I would also like to see one more thing. I'd like to compare it with, say, car travel. So I take car travel and put car travel here. So here I get two things. So I get air travel here and car travel here, right? Now what I want to do is car travel, I want to make it area chart. Sorry. Now, if you are with me here, so I took, let me show you something. I will do it this way. So this is my graph area, this is my map here, this is my passenger. Now you see here, I put region here because I wanted region to be colored. The moment I go, put say passenger here, I get two things. One is called sum air passenger, average of passenger. Now this is average, I'll again convert this into sum. Right. So I get two bars. Whatever changes I make it in all would be reflected in this too. So for example, I go here and make a bar. So both becomes bar chart. Right. So but I'll keep it line chart. But if I want only air passenger to be area chart and this to be line chart, I have to change it in this place. I want this to be again a bar chart. I have to change it here. Similarly, for this place, I do not want region. I want sub-region. Sorry. I want sub-region. So I can drop sub-region here. So my only the below part becomes sub-region. Above part is region. But I'll again keep region only here. It will be easier for us. And now I want to see them together. That is, I want to see them. How does air passenger trend is there compared to car passenger travel? So I go here and say something called dual axis. The moment I make dual axis, this gets overlap. Right? Of course, this is not the best way of representation. There's n number of best way of representation, but we are trying to do this way. which is completely wrong way of doing it, right? But just for a demonstration, we are doing this is an illogical chart right now, right? We'll also try to make a logical chart out of it. So this is what we are trying to do. So what I do is I'll remove everything from here. I go to all and I remove everything from here and take region and put it here, right? So now this makes more sense for me. So all the red colors are, so if I only select this red color, it shows me what? So let's do this. Let's select only euro. So it shows me both the red colors are highlighted. So I see a, bar chart details here and area chart details here. Can I do it better? What change should I make to this chart to make it better? Now let's see. What change should I make? So instead of bar chart, what if I make a line chart? Does it make will it make my life easier? Let's see. So kind of, this gives me a better perspective, right? So this gives me a better perspective. Now, let's see. So when I say 500 million here, does this axis also says 500 million? No. So what I can do is I can say synchronize the axis, that let the both axes be same. Now let's see. Now if you see what happens, all the line chart disappears because air travel is much higher compared to my car travel in this case. So all my line chart disappears, right? That's why we do not do. Here we do, that's much better, right? Now let's remove air passenger. Now let's only play around with this data set. Now what we see that there are few years when data is not completely available. So what I want to remove all those years and start from 2003. So I take this, put it into filters and click on next and see what I can do. So what I'll do is I'll take this, put it on filter again, click on relative dates, click next, and then I'll go range of dates. I'll take up to 2003. So let's make it 2003. And so yeah. Okay, I made a mistake. I have to exclude up to 2003. I was taking up to 2003. Right. So I have to exclude. So I'll start from somewhere here. 2002, 2023. So I'll go here and make it right. And let's see. Right. So this is how my now data would look like. Right. Now what I want it to be annual data. That is, I have year data. So I make it show quick filter. So what you get here is you get this kind of slider. You can change this slider to change the years and so on and so forth. And you can also further drop down here and do a lot of things. So if I want, my starting date to be fixed, my end date to be fixed, periods to be, so you can do one first week. So this you can do a lot of things. So if you can have both the, you can have both the charts. You can have, ending date to be fixed. Only the starting date would be fixed. You can only change the ending date, or vice versa. You have to see till the last of the year, but you can change the starting date and so on and so forth. So that's one kind of chart. Now, can I do better? Let's see. So I make a bar chart out of this. I made a bar chart. So for all the years, it's showing me a bar chart. Now, since it's a bar chart, I can play around with it. I can go to custom and I can see month and year. So I have July 2005, July 2006, July 2007, and all the Julys I have. But I want to see monthly data. That is, okay, let's see. Let's try to do it monthly data. So again, go here and let's see if I get a monthly data. No, they don't have monthly data in the data set. So it's July 2000, July 2006, July 2007, July 2008, and so on and so forth, right? I do not have July 2010 data. So what I can do is I can right click here and exclude. So this again shows me my July data, right? Now let's go to a new tab. Let's do something else. So again, take date, and this time I take regions. Sorry, I take regions. Now I want to see a lot of things. So I want to see, say, I want to see spent on military as percentage of GDP. So I do what? I take this and drag it and drop it here. So it gives me percentage, right? So now this is percentage. It looks good to me. What I can do is I can click here and make it a chart. So I can make chart here, right? What I can do further do is, this is my average size. I can take percentage of government expenditure and make it color. So I see two things. The side shows me percentage as GDP. However, the color shows me percentage of government expenditure, right? So what you can do is, you want to see, you can see entire view. So this makes it much. And what I'll do is I'll remove others. Now this gives me a better understanding of what I'm trying to do, right? So this gives me a better output.